Welcome to Vetted, the channel dedicated to exploring the unexplained and sharing truly personal accounts of the unknown. Tonight, we journey back to a quiet summer morning in 1970 to a suburban intersection in Olmstead Falls, Ohio. What began as an ordinary wait for a bus quickly transformed into one of the most vividly bizarre and well-documented humanoid encounters in ufological history. This is the astonishing testimony of multiple witnesses who saw two enigmatic figures draped in impossible light, carrying an alien artifact and leaving behind undeniable traces of their visit. It's a story of luminous beings, conical hats, and a close encounter in broad daylight that continues to baffle and inspire. The date was August 24th, 1970. It was a typical summer morning in Olmstead Falls, Ohio, a suburb just outside Cleveland. The kind of day where the air was already warm, filled with the promise of sunshine and the gentle hum of early morning activity. For three individuals, their day was about to begin as it usually did, waiting for the bus at a quiet intersection, ready to head to work or appointments. They were just ordinary people going about their mundane routines, completely unprepared for the extraordinary spectacle about to unfold before their very eyes. The air was still. The usual sounds of distant traffic and birdsong were present. There was no unusual atmospheric disturbance, no strange light in the sky that first drew their attention. The anomaly simply appeared, stepping into their reality with an audacity that defied all logic. And then they saw them. Two figures, not distant, indistinct shapes, but clearly discernible beings, appearing from seemingly nowhere in a nearby field. Their most striking feature, the detail that instantly commanded attention, was their attire. They were dressed in glowing orange jumpsuits. The suits weren't just orange fabric. They seemed to emit their own soft, pervasive light, giving them an ethereal, almost incandescent quality. This warm, impossible glow stood out starkly against the green of the field and the mundane light of the summer morning. Perched atop their heads were distinct conical hats, tapering upwards, adding to their bizarre, almost fantastical appearance. These hats were also part of the glowing orange ensemble, seemingly made of the same luminous material. Their overall form was humanoid: 2 arms, 2 legs, a torso, a head, but their faces, if visible beneath the hats or within the glow, were indistinct or perhaps subtly alien, lacking conventional human features. They didn't move with human gait, but with a strange, deliberate fluidity that was unnerving. And then, another astonishing detail. Between them, and held directly over their heads, they were carrying a strange disc-shaped object. This wasn't a small item. It appeared to be of significant size, perhaps a few feet in diameter, yet they carried it with what seemed like effortless ease, as if it weighed nothing at all. The disc itself was metallic, seamlessly constructed, and appeared to be part of their otherworldly apparatus. It was utterly baffling. What was it? Why were they carrying it in such an unusual manner? The two figures, glowing orange against the green landscape, holding their impossible disc aloft, began to move. They weren't running, nor did they seem hurried. They simply began walking off into a field, moving with a purposeful, almost gliding step. Their movement was silent, leaving no sound of footsteps on the grass. The witnesses, utterly transfixed, could only stare as these bizarre entities, straight out of a science fiction tale, proceeded calmly and deliberately into the vastness of the rural landscape. The story of the Olmstead Falls humanoids doesn't end with the initial 3 witnesses. In the hours and days that followed, as investigators began to piece together the extraordinary events, another crucial piece of testimony emerged. Another witness came forward whose vantage point provided an even more astonishing detail. This witness had also seen the 2 glowing orange humanoids, recognizing them from the descriptions. And crucially, this witness saw them enter a craft. The craft itself was described as a large, metallic saucer-shaped UFO. It was sitting, or perhaps hovering just above the ground, in a secluded part of the field, previously unseen by the initial witnesses. The 2 glowing figures, having walked across the field, approached this silent metallic disc. They entered it, presumably through an unseen hatch, and then, without sound, without fanfare, the craft took off, ascending rapidly into the sky, shrinking to a speck and vanishing from sight. This later corroboration added undeniable weight to the initial bizarre sighting, confirming that the humanoids were indeed connected to an alien vehicle. The physical evidence further solidified the reality of the encounter. Local investigators, drawn to the area by the extraordinary reports, discovered landing traces in the field. These were not random disturbances. They were consistent with a large, heavy object having rested on the ground. Reports detail patterns of circular depressions, areas of flattened or disturbed vegetation, and in some accounts, even subtle scorch marks or unusual residue on the soil. These physical imprints served as undeniable proof that something truly anomalous had landed in that quiet Olmstead Falls field. And the mystery continued to deepen. It turned out that the August 24th incident was not an isolated anomaly. Around the same time, more UFOs were seen in the area. Reports from other residents in and around Olmstead Falls began to surface. Strange lights in the night sky, distant, silent objects, reinforcing the idea that the community was experiencing a localized flap or wave of UFO activity. This broader context further underscored the reality and persistence of the phenomenon, moving it beyond a single, isolated, extraordinary event to a series of undeniable intrusions into the everyday. The encounter on that summer morning in 1970 profoundly impacted the witnesses. For the initial 3 waiting for the bus, the memory of the glowing orange humanoids with conical hats, casually carrying a disc, then walking off into a field, must have been seared into their minds. It defied all logic, all expectation. How do you go back to normal life after seeing such a bizarre yet undeniably physical manifestation of the unknown? They had seen something that challenged the very fabric of their reality. The image of those glowing figures, so mundane in their action, yet so utterly alien in their appearance, would undoubtedly return in their thoughts for years to come. The latter corroboration from the other witness, seeing them enter a craft, and the discovery of landing traces, transformed their bewildering account into a validated, albeit still unexplained truth. The Olmstead Falls case stands as a unique and compelling testament to the diversity of humanoid reports, reminding us that the extraterrestrial presence might take forms far more unusual and vibrant than we often imagine. It's a snapshot of a moment when the impossible became terrifyingly, wonderfully real, forever marking a quiet Ohio suburb with the enigma of the unknown. The Olmstead Falls humanoid sighting of August 1970 remains a vivid and widely cited case in UFO history. the specific details of the glowing orange jumpsuits, conical hats, the carried disc, and the corroborating witness who saw them enter a craft, along with physical landing traces, make this an exceptionally compelling encounter. It highlights the often bizarre and detailed nature of close-up humanoid reports. What are your thoughts on this astonishing story? Have you heard of similar sightings involving uniquely dressed humanoids or objects being carried by them? Share your insights and experiences in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Vetted for more true encounters, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next upload. Let's keep the conversation going.